right. Hey, everybody. It's Nicole Bonner and Dr. Patti Giuliano in Getting Real. Patti, what is our episode on today?
It's exhausting being perfect or trying to be perfect.
Yes. Yes.
The story of my life.
And I think the story of so many of us out there, as women, we got our plates full with practices and being a business owner and being moms, right? Being wives and everything, wearing every hat for everyone. And so today, one of the things that I ran into, Patti, as I am coaching um, many women in chiropractic who are opening practices and trying to build their practice at the same time trying to raise a family, is how seasons change and
Mm,
trying to maintain that that perfection through the changes of the seasons of our lives.
hmm
And so that's so one of the things I was helping a young female chiropractor through is, when she came out of school, she's super passionate about chiropractic, loves chiropractic, got out of school and opened a clinic and just smashed it. Like she's very driven, she's very bright, she did really well, she's doing really well in practice. She has this beautiful practice close, right overlooking the ocean in California, and it's her dream practice. And she's busy and she's bustling and she's hustling and she's loving it. And then a year or two goes by and she got married, which was great because she was still, nose to the grindstone, just, grinding it out, but in a good way. When I say the word grind, I that's a positive like thing for me because when we love what we do, when we love chiropractic and we just want to share it with the world, we don't mind the grind. It doesn't feel
hmm
like a grind, right? It feels good,
Right.
right? And so she's loving it. And now all of a sudden, she started a family and became a mom. And the season of her life has changed. And
hmm
so for
Those
those of
little,
us who love chiropractic, we're drivers, we're ambitious, and we're working to create all of this stuff in our life, and now we throw a baby in the mix. It's like there's an emotional component to that change in season of your life, right? And it's
Mhm.
almost like in a way, you feel like you're going backwards, right? Because it's like you don't have the time, you don't have the energy, you don't have the desire as much to be in the practice as much, to be grinding it, right? And now you have all these feelings for that little baby, right? Now you don't want to leave the house because you don't want to leave your baby. I remember those days. And
hmm
I think I would like I would like us, or I'd like you to jump in and share about, how at one point success in the season that we're in means like a full schedule and really just growing the practice. And then in another season when life changes, that looks different. And it's okay that that looks different because it's not about going backward, it's actually about evolving and
Mm.
growing.
Amen. Well, first thing I can say is those little buggers, they come into our life and then we can't do everything that we want to do and we were doing and
Yeah.
I mean that was my realization. I just thought, okay, this baby's going to come into the world and I'm going to put her on my back in a backpack and I'll be in the office in 2 weeks. And as you said, you don't know what to expect, and you want to live the life you've been living. You want to be able to serve your patients, have loving relationship with your spouse, and you want to do all the things. You want to be able to go out to dinner, and now what do? We used to take her and get a blanket, put it on the floor in the dining in the
Yeah.
restaurant. the
Yeah.
things that the things that I subjected my children to. But seriously, as much as people can prepare us and say it is going to be different, life is going to be different, is going to be intense. I
Mhm.
didn't listen to that. I was like, way. I started my practice. I,
Mhm.
I sold my practice. I met Peter, got married. We started another practice.
Mhm.
And you know what? Life just kind of hits you with a two by four
Mhm.
at different moments, and you have to stop. And I
Yeah.
think that um, for the person who wants perfection, like me, I think like you too. I think we both are, it's got to be right, it's got to be perfect, it's got to be, how I want it to be. Why can't it be like that? That
Mhm.
it can be very frustrating.
Mhm.
But what an amazing, change in our life to have a child, to
Mhm.
have this being that you get to, bring into this world and help navigate this world and teach them about this world through how you care for them and the example that you set for them. And
Mhm.
it's a hard job if if you want to be perfect. But if you strive, I should say, let's change the wording to striving for
Mhm.
what we perceive to be the perfect life and the best life for us and our family. So for those women out there, for your client out there, reach out to other women, like podcasts like this. I'm in my fourth season now, whatever,
Mhm.
beyond practice now, and
Right.
having my own challenges with that. And to be in that first season again, it was hard. It was really hard. And thank
Yeah.
God I had other women in my life, women
Mhm.
chiropractors, women who weren't chiropractors,
Mhm.
who lived life the same as my philosophy, women
Mhm.
that I could call when I broke down completely and my
Mhm.
milk that I was feeding my nursing my son with went rancid and I got, I was so symptomatic, thought I was dying, and they
Mhm.
came over and they nursed my children for me.
Wow.
So that is the ultimate, to have people who are willing to share share their own bodily fluids, so to
Yeah.
speak, their nourishment with
Yeah.
because we didn't have a lot of milk banks back then and stuff. So,
Mhm.
to have women and to have your spouse be on the same page as you and
Mhm.
support you, and for them, the spouse and the people around you, to know, hey, recognize this is a time of major transition, and we
Mhm.
need to support this woman. We need to help her. She may think she
Mhm.
has to do everything, which I thought I still needed to do everything, and I did
Mhm.
not reach out as much as I could have. And I went, and I
Yeah.
went, you know, and my body just, did not like what I was doing to it, and it
Yeah.
revolted. And then I had to reassess. So those two by fours that smack us up the side of the head have
Mhm.
us reset. It's like the computer. We have to reboot our computer, and then we have to put a new
Mhm.
program in there. And
Right.
I can say that being in the season that I'm in, where
Mhm.
I just retired from practice and I'm supporting my husband in his endeavors. Um,
Mhm.
we need to recognize that and ask for help. I wrote about this in my book. I wrote about, the chapter on trying to be perfect, and I wrote
Mhm.
about the chapter on asking for help, and I
Mhm.
didn't do it enough. And so please, I implore any young women chiropractors out there planning to have a baby, or you just had a baby, or your baby's a couple of years old, ask
Mhm.
for help, or your
Yeah.
body will break down and it will let you know, and it'll force you to do it, which is what happened
Yeah.
to me. So we always want to help people so they don't have to go through the pain and anguish, but maybe we do.
Well, Patty, I read your book, and your book is awesome. You guys, this is a book that you absolutely want to get. It's funny, it's entertaining, it keeps your attention, and it is so valuable because you share all the stories and all the seasons that you went through being a mom and a businesswoman. Um, Patty, where tell our audience, where can they find your book? I think I got
Oh,
mine on Amazon.
yeah, it's on Amazon. Holy shit, I'm going to be a mom. What was I thinking?
Uh-huh.
And sometimes you can't find it that way. And just put in Dr. Patty with an I,
Uh-huh.
Giuliano
In Amazon.
in on Amazon.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ladies, I highly recommend this book. It will have you laughing, roll in, and then crying, right? And you're gonna go, that happened to me, and that happened to me, and that happened to me. And you'll see how actually we all really do go through kind of all of the same things. Like our experiences may look different, but they're really all the same emotions that we all go through. And I love this one liner, what got you here won't sustain you in the next season. So like you said, you're in like your fourth season of life. Patty, how did you make that emotional shift from season to season? Because I think a lot of times as women who are trying to like just keep it all together and also having everything perfect, um, those changes in season, which are changes of growth and evolution, can also feel like in some cases, like you could almost feel like defeated. Or in my case, I know like there was a certain level of guilt because I would be home with the boys and loving it, enjoying it, but also at the same time kind of feeling guilty that I wasn't in the practice serving patients. And then there's this like tug of war in your heart of like, where am I supposed to be and what am I supposed to be doing? So how did you navigate that?
Well, I had a husband who was a chiropractor, so go out and find a chiropractor and marry them. No, no, I have many friends who are navigating this without their husband being a chiropractor, and it certainly
Yeah.
is more challenging. So, how did I navigate it? We're all so unique, Nicole. I mean, I'm a hard-headed Italian from Jersey. And
Hmm.
so, but my personality is that I have to experience things to the fullest, and that is even the negative things. Experience it, push, 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 and then, like I refer to the proverbial, two by four, cosmic two by four. And I
Hmm.
have in my book, I even outline the cosmic two by fours that hit me. What I
Right.
do is my body breaks down when I
Hmm.
am pushing, pushing, and not being conscious to the fact that I am pushing myself beyond what I should. And my husband will say to me, Patty, you don't need to do that. Patty, you don't need to push yourself like that. But gabadost, as we say in Italian,
Hmm.
gabadost, hard-headed. And
Hmm.
um, and then I learn my lesson. So for
Hmm.
some of us, it does require that we have to viscerally feel it,
Hmm.
push ourselves, and then, get knocked down. And then we say, okay, I'm not going to do that shit anymore. I'm going to
Hmm.
shift. And so I have shifted many times in my seasons, and
Hmm.
not fun going through it, but realizations afterwards, like, wow, why was I driving my son 10 miles in that direction to school and then turn around and drive Katie 13 miles in the other direction and then rush home, get dressed,
Hmm.
go in the office, and boom, start adjusting people, seeing new people, like not
Hmm.
taking a pee break, not taking a break to nourish myself, go, 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 go,
Right.
because I felt like that's what I had to do. I have to take
Hmm.
care of our people. And
Right.
and and Peter is there. Peter's like, Patty, Don't push yourself. I can handle this, but no, I have to keep up with Peter. So that's one
Yeah.
of the negative things for me, that I had a husband who I was trying to keep up with. And he's like
Yeah.
the ever ready chiropractic bunny, adjusting bunny, you know?
Yeah.
So, so,
Well, one of your superheroes, super powers is you're a driver.
mm,
Like you go, 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 go. And just like, every superpower, I had an awesome coach one time, and when he said this like was like, yeah, every superpower is a double-edged sword. So your superpower grew your practice. It got you to where you are. It created success, not only in your practice and in your life, and also your superpower drove your health into the ground, right?
right, right.
So, it's kind of, being, I think one of the pieces of advice that I would give young women as this starts to happen to you is to just, a lot of times we're so task driven, especially as, business owners and chiropractors, that we go through life a little bit with like blinders on sometimes, and you're just kind of going through the motion, like you were saying, like you get up, get the kids to one school, get the kids to the other school, rush back, take a shower, didn't have a pee break, didn't have a snack break. So we're just so like going from thing to thing to thing. And so my advice for young women and young chiropractors that want to open a practice and build a practice would be to be conscious of what's happening to your body, because if you're not intentional about that, your body is giving you signals, but you're just not paying attention to it. And so when you take the time to be conscious and intentional about like, what am I feeling in my body, what's going on, it helps you to avoid some of the stuff that you and I have gone through.
Right.
So, I was in the same boat after I had Lucas. Um, and once again, now Joe was not a chiropractor, um, but he was such a hands-on dad.
Yeah.
Like he really took a big part of the role of fatherhood in our household. And so he did a lot of the things, a lot of the tasks with the boys that I couldn't do because I was in the practice. But I was still burning, 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 burning. At one point, I literally drove my body into the ground. And I remember being like, I just feel sick. Like I don't feel like I feel like I'm gonna die. Like I really thought I thought I had cancer. Like I know this when I tell you this story, it's gonna sound so stupid, but I was
Mm.
really worried about myself. I had like no energy. I was going to sleep by like 8:30. I was coming home from the practice, 8:30 and going right into bed. And so I finally went to have some blood work done, and I was seeing an integrative doctor, and he said, Nicole, how are you how'd you get out of bed today? I go, barely. I go, I just do it because I have to do it. And he goes, Nicole, your thyroid stimulating hormone is 189. So I was like burning my thyroid out, and my body was giving me signals, but I didn't even ignore this. It wasn't even at the point where I ignored the signals. I wasn't even paying attention. The signals weren't even registering because I was
Yeah.
so immersed in everything that was going on,
Yeah.
right? So I would say key takeaway here is take time out of your busy schedule to intentionally feel what your body is telling you, and pay attention to it. Pay attention to those feelings that you're talking about.
Oh man, that is like great, great advice, you know, because I definitely did not do that. And maybe to have honest friends around you who see things happening and they pull you aside and say, I love you so much. And you know, you need some support here. You know, how can
Yeah.
I help you? And you know, maybe pull some relatives in to come and help with the kids too. I know you said
Yeah.
your husband was able to do that. Not
Mhm.
everybody has that opportunity.
Right.
You know, just call in the troops. You know,
Right.
people that love you, support you, and have the time and energy. That's what I think grandparents are for. You know, to help, you know, help us. You know,
Yeah.
we all used to live together. I mean, I lived in
Yeah.
a three story. house in Newark, New Jersey. Grandma and grandpa on the second floor,
Yeah.
Aunt Joe and Uncle Doc on the third floor, and everybody, took care of the kids and helped the kids and, helped grow the kids. Yeah, those days are gone, pretty much. And
Yeah.
so we don't have that support. And so here we are trying to be, super moms, super kairos, and we
Mhm.
make ourselves sick. So
Right.
for those youngins that are listening, please take this to heart. Really take this to
Mhm.
heart. I wish I could go back and do what you just said and just
Mhm.
really be more conscious about my health, because here I am. I need to care for my kids and I can't care
Right.
for them. I was in bed for 3 months. I couldn't care
Mhm.
for my kids. I couldn't drive them to school. And
Yeah.
God knows who took care of them. My husband did everything,
Yeah.
So you don't want to get in that spot. You
Yeah.
want to try to avoid that as much as possible. So I hope people are listening out there and really taking this to heart.
Too, Patty, I want to put a plug out for LCW, League of Chiropractic Women, because that's why that group was formed,
Yeah, one of
right?
my
It was
saviors. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. And you've developed like very close relationships with those women. And so write that down, ladies, if you're out there, take a look into invest, it's not a lot of money, and invest in LCW and start getting connected with these women, who have been there. Like we've been there, we've done it, we've been in your shoes.
Yeah, yeah. I mean
So,
that LCW started in 2012, so what we're to 14 or so years, I was one of the
yeah.
founders, and
Mhm.
I they helped me to come into my own as a
Mhm.
woman, as a an individual separate from my husband. I was so
Mhm.
immersed with Patty Peter Peter Patty Peter,
Right.
and I was able to find my individuality separate from Peter and together with him, and
Mhm.
that's so important. I think we lose our identity very often when we become moms, right? All of a
Yeah.
sudden I'm Katie and Christopher's mom. I'm
Yeah.
Peter's wife. Well, who the hell am I?
Right.
And I think many of us lose ourselves. I lost myself. And then again, another 2x4 had to happen to wake me up back to being empowered to, be the beam of light that I can be for those
Right.
around me. And yeah, and sometimes, Nicole, we have to go through those things because
Yeah.
they just, the universe just brings them to us to learn and grow.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I think like another key point here, Patty, is eh, like to talk about and share with our audience about being flexible.
Oh yeah.
Being flexible because when the seasons of your life change, you have to be ready to pivot. And so what that may look like, and it's going to be different for everyone, but what that may look like is totally restructuring your practice, right? That may be going from, like, a high volume bustling practice where you're working 7 days a week. And now all of a sudden you have to restructure the foundation, the systems of the practice to fit your new season.
Yeah. And you can help
That,
people with that, Nicole.
yeah. So
You're
as
good
a,
at that.
yeah,
Yeah.
I, I'm not good at many things, but growing a practice, I am for some reason. Um, but But yeah, and so when I teach people, Patty, when I'm coaching people in opening a practice, my one thing that I always tell them is remember, you want to create your practice around your life, not your life
Mm,
around your practice.
amen. Amen. Yeah.
So
Good
as
advice.
life changes, your practice is going to change,
Yeah,
right? And like,
absolutely.
and sometimes that may look like, hey, well, we might be going from 4, 5, 6, 700 office visits a week to 100 or 200 or 300 office visits a week. And I think for some people, that's like, they feel like that's going backward. But really, what it is you're growing, you're learning how to scale your practice, you're learning how to be more efficient. And you're really learning, and I don't like the word balance. That never resonated well with me. I know a lot of people like that word balance. That
You're
never
not moving.
resonated with me.
If you're
Yeah, like,
balanced, you're stuck.
yeah, exactly,
You got to go off
exactly. So
balance to walk.
yeah. So I prefer the word growth because when your family is growing and you have to pivot in practice, that's really more about, learning how to scale your practice, learning how to be more efficient in your practice, learning how to lead a team so that your team can run your practice for you, learning how to lead maybe another doctor so that your doctor can run your practice for you, or just changing the entire practice model altogether. Like, who says you have to do a 2-day system, or who says you have to do a 3-day system, or who said, right, do a 1-day system? I don't care, right? As long as you're serving people with love and
Yeah.
authenticity, like, you can figure it out, you can make it work.
So to that point, Nicole, I have several friends who are in the season that I'm in. They've been practicing for 30 plus years, and they shift and change their practice. And things that I had shared with some of them, like, why are you doing that? And why are you doing that? That's very inefficient. They're now not doing those things and going, what was I thinking? Why did I have to analyze my x-rays and put 20 different lines on them when people don't really give a shit? It's like they finally come to a realization. And how many of my female friends are moving their practice into their home?
Yeah.
And saying, I make my own hours now. People come to my home. They love it. People have adapted. People will adapt to
Mhm.
us. For the chiropractors out there who think, okay, I have a baby, I still have to keep my hours the way I do. You don't.
You
You can
don't.
make your hours around
Hmm.
nursing your children, or you can bring
Yeah.
your baby with you, have a nanny come with you, or a high school kid who can come and, hold your baby and play with your baby while you're, in the office, and then you can come and nurse them. And patients
Hmm.
understand, especially our kind of practices where we
Yeah.
have, it's a family-centered practice as
Right.
opposed to a PI kind of practice where everybody is coming in. And even then, I think if you're open and your patients love you for the
Mhm.
kindness that you give them, they'll hold your baby for you.
Yeah, Patty, it is so true, and it's so much fun. I remember those days. And you know what it is though? Like, I think, and we all have these limiting beliefs, right? Like, oh, I have to like you said, I have to stay open at night because people want to come after work. Or, oh, I have to open super early because people want to come before work. Or, oh, I have to spend hours doing insurance or whatever. Or or oh, I hear this one. I have to open on Saturdays because people work Monday through Friday and they're available on Saturday. Those all belief systems that are holding you back, because you don't have to do that. And you build it the way that you want it in the season that you're in. I promise you, people will come to your practice. I promise you. And here's the other thing, the other hump that when I was younger, I had to get over. Like, I don't have to serve everybody.
Mm,
That was like an aha moment for me. I was like, wait, you mean I can like refer this person who doesn't fit within like my season of life? I could refer them to another great chiropractor and they're gonna still get great care right down the road. Like, I feel like sometimes we're so holding on to everything like this that it squashes our enthusiasm. It squashes our happiness,
yeah.
right? And then once we let go of those
Yeah.
limiting beliefs, once we let go of those limiting beliefs on time and money and insurance and Saturdays and Sundays or whatever, like whatever you think, um, the world just opens up for us, and like God just sends us the people that we're meant to serve.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like
So
in
to
my
get,
practice, in my practice now, I don't practice anymore either, but I don't see I still have my practice, but I don't see patients. My practice runs on its own, but they're only there Monday through Thursday. And I set it up that way because once I had the boys, I wanted to be with the boys Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I
Right.
didn't want to be serving patients on a Saturday because I had children that needed me and I wanted to be with them,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Guess what?
Sports and all that.
All those Saturday people, guess what? They came Monday through Thursday.
They adapt,
They do.
and that's what we teach them, that getting adjusted allows your body to adapt better, and it happens on a physical level, an emotional level, a spiritual level, and they become
Yeah.
more flexible,
Mhm.
right? Physically and emotionally, and yeah,
Yeah.
and then they kind of, allow themselves to flow with us. And if
Yeah.
they don't, like you said, if they don't, then they can flow with someone else down the
Right.
street.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
remember one time, this was like the sweetest story when I had Cole and I went back into practice and I used to put him in that little like papoose thing on the front of me. And I would adjust with him attached to my body in the little papoose. And I would also do report of findings. And I remember this one time doing my report of findings with this woman, and I was standing here and she was standing here, and I had Cole in my little papoose, right? And I'm like going over her x-rays, I'm showing her her x-rays, right? And all of a sudden, she looks over at me and she goes, "Your baby just fell asleep." I'm like, "Oh, yeah, he's fine." And she thought that was like the most beautiful thing that she could have ever witnessed, right? And so,
Oh.
like, that's how, like, God sends you those people, and those are your people, those are your tribe, because the people that think the way that you do, they have the same values that you do, right?
Right.
And so we
Right.
have a strong family value in our personal families. We always had a strong family value in our chiropractic practice because we saw lots of families and lots of kids. And
Right.
those were the people that wanted to be around those people.
Right. Right.
So it didn't bother that patient that my infant was in the reported findings with us.
Right.
She thought it
Right.
was the most adorable thing.
Right. What's beautiful, Nicole, is you are who you are, who you are, whether you're coaching, whether you're in
Mhm.
your practice, and whether you're carrying your baby in the little papoose, that
Yeah,
people get to see you, and other, me too, and all of us who are just being ourselves and not compromising that, not trying to be someone else. So
right.
I think it's beautiful. You had your baby with you, instead of them being inside you, he was outside of you,
Yeah.
and that's beautiful for people to see, and see that you're just kind of a normal person, because sometimes they put
Mhm.
us up on pedestals, and you get to
Mhm.
be the example for them, and
Right.
it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it
Mm.
was a good time. And then he grew and his legs started touching the ground. So
And he probably doesn't want to hang out on the front of your body right now.
well, Cole's 20 now, Patty. 20. He's at
And he's taller
college.
than you, and
Picks me up now.
he could carry you in a papoose.
He does. Yeah, he comes home from college, he picks me up, he twirls me around like I'm a rag
Oh,
doll.
I love it. I love it. Oh,
Yeah, but you're right. Even in coaching, um, because I'm here at my house, coaching now. And when the boys come home, they come. I wouldn't be surprised. They come right in. They hop on my coaching calls, and they're like, "Hey, so and so," and everybody's like,
that's
"Hey, Cole."
oh, that's so great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Well, I think we've exhausted this perfection thing.
Yeah, I think so. And I think we ran out of time.
A few minutes ago, but that's okay. We were on a roll.
I
And I
know.
really, I really think that if people listen to this, they're going to feel connected. They're going to feel like, wow, somebody else out there, experienced this, and
Mhm.
um, and I need to pause. And I think that's kind of a theme through what we said today is
Mhm.
stop and pause. And as they say, stop and smell the roses. You know,
Yeah.
um, I do that. Every time I see a rose, I will stop and I will smell that rose. And when you smell roses out in the wild, they they my heart just like feels like, I feel like crying so much. It's just like the
Mhm.
smell of it. And so if we can just take that with us today and into our future, just keep remembering to stop, pause, breathe, look around us, who's around us, be with them totally, and
Mhm.
and don't disregard ourselves.
Yeah,
Be with ourselves too.
yeah. I jotted down a couple of action steps for people to take, and that was really one of them. I put, a really good, a nice way to do that too is to make journaling part of your daily habit or your daily ritual, and just journal on everything that we were talking about today, like finding out who are you, who are you really, right? Because that can be a little bit confusing because sometimes we think, well, we're who our parents taught us to be, or we're who like people expect us to be, but who are
Right.
you? Who did God create you to be? And so just getting clarity on that through journaling, and then, like you said, using that journaling time to be intentional,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So, and also, I'm going to put a shameless plug out for our podcast. Can you guys share our podcast with your friends and your
Oh,
female
why
care?
wouldn't they?
I know. Can you guys do that for us? We would love that.
Yeah.
So, all right, my friend. Well, I'm going to end our episode
Yeah.
until 2 weeks from now. And then, Patty, I'll see you in 2 weeks.
I'll see you in 2 weeks, Nicole, and all the rest of you.
Yep.
Have a
Bye,
great
you
one.
guys.
Bye.
All right.